Next week we will have the holiday of Rosh Hashannah. And the holiday of Rosh Hashannah means it's the beginning of the year. Not necessarily that it was the first month, because we find that in the Torah it actually was in the 7th month. And the first month was the month of Nisan, and not the month of Tishrei, but is considered the beginning of the year. Why is that? It follows the framework of the Torah story itself. It follows the framework of the story that the Jewish people went to the mountain of Sinai, and at that time period, they were waiting to receive the Torah, and it just so happened that they got the amount of time wrong when the 40 days of waiting to receive the Torah would end. And then, for some reason, they decided not to wait, and they built the golden calf, and they had to smash the golden calf when Moshe came down and said, what are you doing, worshiping idols? The whole Torah talks about not worshiping idols. So he smashed the idols and broke it all down. That was on the 17th of Tammuz. And he had to go and pray for the people to be forgiven and redo the 10 Commandments again. And that's when he came down at Rosh Chodesh Elul. Okay? And then those second 40 days were completed on Yom Kippur, and that was when everybody was forgiven. And so therefore, that's why the entire month of Elul we sound the shofar, and the fast itself is on the 10th of Tishrei. It is to model this event, that sometimes we think things are going to go our way. We end up not following the laws because of our own misunderstanding of the way the world works. And Rosh Hashannah is the period and time period where we're supposed to awaken ourselves and help to recall the fact that Hashem is eternally merciful and wants us to do the right thing. And so we see that when Moshe Rabbeinu was on top of the mountain, he was sounding the sound of the shofar. And that's how people knew that it was starting to come down those time period for him to go ahead and give them the commandments at the proper time again. And that's why we continue to do that as well. And we sound the shofar during these weeks until Erev Rosh Hashannah, when we stop it. And we've also increased ahead of Rosh Hashannah, since these days are days of tremendous kindness of Hashem. We ask for all kinds of forgiveness in prayers known as slichos, forgiveness prayers. And we start that at the crack of dawn. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, sometimes in the night at some point. But for several days before Rosh Hashannah, whether it's 4 days or maybe more like 7 days, depending on when Rosh Hashannah falls out, you have several days of learning to recite these prayers that help to arouse the feelings of mercy, that we have to be recognizing that there are certain things that can go wrong in the world, and we need things to change. And that is the main thrust of preparation for Rosh Hashannah itself. And so that's why we also not only need to make ourselves prepare, we also should make sure to find someone who leads the services who themselves is prepared to lead. And this type of person who leads in prayers is needed someone who is fulfilled in their performance of mitzvos. They need to be someone who knows these prayers very well, not only the slichos prayers, but also the prayers of the Yamim Noraim themselves, of Rosh Hashannah and Yom Kippur. And they should be a little bit older and married and have a beard. And they should be somebody who is well received by the congregation. And one of the things that's mentioned in some of the commentaries, like the Magen Avraham and the Chai Adam, sometimes people used to pick somebody based on their musical prowess. And they say you can't just have a person focus on the music. They have to focus on how meaningful the prayers are. They have to deliver the meaningfulness of the prayers, and not just the meaningfulness of the music. It's not a performance, even though it may feel like one. You can find somebody who's really good at the songs, but also has to be very good at internalizing the message of the liturgy. Messages of things are difficult for us. We've contributed to some of this difficultness. We are looking to change our ways. We are looking to make things better. And so therefore, we should try to make sure that we have somebody who represents us to do these things as well. So it's important to also sit down at this time period and review commentaries and translations of the prayers so that they become more meaningful for us. So you should make time for that as well, and make sure that you become a little more expert in them. So not only that you just flip open the book and follow the page numbers and go, I'm going to say this, blah, 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 blah. Not meaningful. Help make the prayers more meaningful. Find out what they mean. Try to understand them. Learn through some commentaries. And so therefore, you should only try to sit in a congregation where you have somebody who leads like that, and you're amongst other people who take it seriously. You don't have to sit amongst the most righteous, but you need to make sure you keep company with people who are looking to hold up righteousness as a value. And don't just show up thinking that they can cash a check on forgiveness and get compensated with it. That's not how it works. Okay, so this type of person is really important, and you should also see yourself with that as well. And the last day of the whole year is Erev Rosh Hashannah. Okay, and the rabbis themselves said in the Talmud that everyone who does teshuvah even one day before the end of the year, it's just like he did teshuvah the entire year. Okay, so therefore some people have a slight fast on Erev Rosh Hashannah for half of the day, and we add on a lot extra to the slichos, and we add some more viduyim, some more confessions, and we also try to make sure that we visit some of our ancestors to ask them to forgive us and also be forgiven for them as well. We have this. That's the one thing that we can kind of feel like we can do, is kind of try to continue the tradition of asking for forgiveness of Hashem and making ourselves better. So that's where that custom comes from. And we also should try to make sure that not only are we looking for kindness to be extended to those who have passed on, but that some of that kindness also be extended to us as well. And so we're not allowed to ask that the dead intercede on our behalf, but we want them to be included on it. Just like you have been kind and done so much kindness for them in their lifetime, also do kindness extended to us as well. One more thing that you can also do is also to engage in tzedakah. So the reason why this is important is because Elul is used as Rosh Tevos, that the first letters spell a few things. One is from a verse, Ani Lododi Li, which is from Shir Shirim, I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Therefore, we're looking for kindness from Hashem. And it also refers to the verse that refers to Matanos L'Evyonim in the book of Esther, right? So, because in the book of Esther, it also says that the people engaged in Matnos Evinim between each other, and the letters Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed appear in that verse as well. So therefore, giving tzedakah is very important. There are also people who do lots of fasts during this time period, but that's not a common custom. The one really important thing is really to do this thing that's called Hataras Nedarim, is before the end of the year, is to make sure that you say this special prayer or this special statement to release yourselves from the punishment of vows that you have made that you are not fulfilling. And that's not the only thing you should do. You should also try to learn through them. And there's a very nice section in the book Chachmas Adam that goes through a number of these things that cannot be permitted through sitting in front of 3 people to forgive you. So the process of Hataras Nedarim is to say, I made a vow which I don't believe I can fulfill. And you say it in front of a Beis Din, so that's 3 adult Jewish men, and you make this statement that I want to be forgiven from these vows that I made that I may not be fulfilling. But some of them you can't get around. So it's important to learn which ones you can and which ones you can't. So you can't just say, I'm going to make a vow and not fulfill. You should try to know those laws as well. And we'll make a separate class on what type of vows those are. So we'll continue with more classes on Rosh Hashannah, but this is just some of the preparation that goes into getting ready for the day itself. The idea is that we should be trying to close the gap between ourselves and the Holy One. We do that by trying to increase our prayers and the charity that we begin to engage in. We try to associate with people who are committed to better life choices and better life patterns of being good people and following the Torah's laws. And we also want to make sure that we're becoming more and more careful about how we use our mouths. So we shouldn't say things that would make us somehow violate the Torah's laws of vows. It's also important to close off with that we shouldn't be saying lashon hara, and that's another time. This is another good time to focus on how we use our mouths to say things that could be painful for others. We'll discuss that more when we talk about asking for forgiveness before Yom Kippur as well. Shana Tova, and we'll continue with more laws of Rosh Hashannah in another future video.